If you were to watch just one video from our YouTube channel today, make it this one, because I'm about to cover our entire system for building your business and finding new leads. Stay tuned. What I want to go over today is the customer journey framework. Shameless plug, if you do not have a copy of it, you can get one by signing up for our newsletter. Mark and I are in a little competition. In pure numbers, he's winning, but as far as like added subscribers, I am completely dominating so far. I've added 26, he's added like 6, okay, so, or 5 maybe. So if you've not signed up for the newsletter,
I'm not getting it.
Huh?
I've signed up, but I'm not getting the newsletter.
I'll check on that afterwards. I might need to check your confirmation link to make sure you confirm the subscription. We don't want to be spamming people, so we have double opt-in set up. That was a whole separate discussion we had a couple weeks ago in this very room, double opt-in versus single opt-in. So I'll not go back down that train.
Thanks.
Certainly. So when we start working with a new customer, or even a lot of times in our one-to-one, we'll bring this up front and center, because honestly, Mark and I have been working together for a couple of years now. And still, when I'm thinking about how I'm trying to reach people, usually marketing wise, right? I will wonder why something's not working, and then it'll click in my head, oh wait, it's because something in this picture here is broken, right? Like I failed to realize some aspect of this, some aspect of the buyer's journey when I crafted whatever the marketing piece was that I put out there. Okay, and there's another asset we have out there called the AMCAF framework, how to build a successful marketing message. We've talked about that, and I think I have that on the schedule for a few weeks from now. So I'm not going to go into the detail of that, but I wanted to go over this document specifically so that we are all on the same page going forward in this room, but also in other rooms as well. So I want to start here. I'm going to go over all of this stuff, but we always start here with clients and customers because we all understand what this is. But just to give a complete formal definition, and feel free to go along in the customer journey framework cheat sheet if you have it, but I want to make sure that I'm consistent with the cheat sheet. But the definition for us of a customer is someone that has hired you to do work or bought your product. So, right, someone who's bought your product or service, you have delivered it and they've paid for it, right? So sometimes, you may have a proposal out there and they say they want to hire you and they haven't yet. That's not a customer, okay? Or they sign a proposal, the project never starts and the budget disappears and the project never happens. That's not a customer, right? So someone who you have provided product or service to and have a signed contract. I realize you could have a handshake deal with someone, so if that's how you want to kind of define a customer, that's fine. But we're looking for somebody that has a signed contract and has paid you, especially for your work. Okay, so it's someone you have done work for or that you've provided product to. Does that make sense? Okay, so before someone becomes a customer, there is some kind of decision-making process that happens in their mind when they're figuring out whether they want to work with you or not. Okay, so while they're figuring that out and they're thinking, okay, well, can this guy solve my problem or not? That's usually part of the sales process. Okay, so before someone buys something from you, before they agree to sign on the dotted line, we call that person a prospect. Okay, that's as they're going through the sales process. Before that, when they're being marketed to and you've not yet worked with them before and they've not yet gotten to the point where they want to consider whether they want to work with you or not, you call them suspects before that targets. So let me step back once more and mention, in any company, we say every company is uniquely similar. Let me press the reset button. I should have started here. We say every company is uniquely similar. Okay, so whether you're a company of 1 or a company of 1 million, every company is uniquely similar in this way. So every company delivers a product or a service of some sort. I mean, if you think about it, that could be a nonprofit that has a mission of feeding the hungry, or like Matthew 25 Ministries, right? That could be a church. Their goal is to get people to become Christians or whatever the case may be for whatever the faith is. Every business organization that we help has some goal of providing a product or service or result to people. Okay. How those people provide that, we kind of put that in the customer service bucket. Okay, here at Rethink Revenue, we're focused on top line revenue increase, so increasing net or gross revenue, not your profit, right? So we don't necessarily care about how you deliver your products and services and what makes you unique and how you deliver your product and service. That is 100% you and your customer's DNA. We're not trying to change how you do that. We're trying to increase top line revenue. Okay, so first off, realize that how you service your customers are up to you, and we don't necessarily mess with that. Okay, we do talk a little bit about how to create upselling opportunities for existing customers, how to get repeat sales. But aside from that, how you deliver your products and services is up to you. Also, the other two functions that we separate, we're grossly oversimplifying a company, right? Like how you deliver your products and services includes all sorts of admin functions like IT and operations and finance and human resources and all these other things that we recognize are part of your company and that we might touch on in a project or something, but it's not really in the scope of what we're trying to do and how we're trying to help our customers, okay? So the three main functions that we focus on are customer service, which again is mostly about how you deliver your products and services, which we don't touch on, or upselling, which we do. Sales, and if you look in the cheat sheet, you'll see that the goal of sales is to take an opportunity, someone that said, hey, I think you might be able to help me, and to help root out that opportunity. And marketing, which is to nurture relationships and create brand awareness. So creating brand awareness, nurturing relationships, marketing. So the one thing I want, if I could have you guys learn one thing today, it would be that a company of one or a company of 1 million people has all three of these things, and they are three separate functions with three separate goals, okay? Marketing function, sales function, customer service. Customer service is definitely the biggest probably of a company because that's how you manufacture your products and deliver it into your accounting and HR and AP and AR and all these other operational things, okay? But we focus mostly on marketing and sales. So marketing, to go back to the beginning, the function of marketing is to develop awareness and to build and nurture relationships, okay? Develop awareness and build and nurture relationships, marketing. The ultimate goal of marketing is to deliver leads to the sales team, okay? So that's where that little blue thing comes in down here. And I will back up and define these things in a minute. But the goal of marketing as a function is to deliver leads. The way it does that is to promote brand awareness and nurture relationships, okay? I'm grossly oversimplifying, so I want to go over at a high level and then dig to get deeper, okay? The goal of marketing is to deliver leads to the sales team. The sales team's job is to take the leads and qualify them. Qualifying a lead means to root out whether that lead is going to turn into a valid opportunity or not. If the lead is not a valid opportunity, meaning, okay, I'm giving you an example here. I'm not promoting it. I'm not throwing it under the bus. In the Sandler sales system, I went to a 2-day sales training crash course from the Sandler, from the Lynn McInturf group downtown. I'll give them a shout out. Great training. Thank you, Jared Moore. And if I recall correctly, it's been a little while, the definition of opportunity in the Sandler sales system is you have a pain point you're trying to solve. The customer has a budget for solving it. They have a timeline in which they'd like to have it solved. And you have discovered the decision-making process for getting that budget approved and that project or solution of yours approved, okay? So there's a 4-point qualification process in the Sandler system. So regardless of what your qualification process looks like, and for example, Ted Fireman, who's not able to attend today, he's part of FranNet, and he has a specific questionnaire interview type template he goes through as part of his franchise system that they provided him to figure out whether there's a valid opportunity or not, okay? So the qualification process is going to be different for every company, but my point is there should be a process through which you can take a lead and determine whether you are a good fit for them and they are a good fit for you. Ultimately, the lead going through the system may or may not know enough on their own to determine or discern that fitness both ways. It's like dating, right? It's got to be a two-way fit. If you like her, she doesn't like you, it's not going to be a good fit. She likes you, you don't like her, not going to be a good fit. It's got to be a two-way fit, okay? So the lead qualification process, the goal of that is to determine the fitness, pardon me, of the likelihood of fitness, I guess, of the two parties working together, doing business together, okay? So when a lead gets qualified, it enters the sales process at stage 1, task 1 of the sales process. Pardon me, I may need to refill my water here in a minute. If the lead does not get qualified into the sales process, there's two things that can happen when they get qualified out. So if a lead is qualified out, you may determine, well, again, the Sandler example, and your sales systems might be different, like Ryan Kasner and Keen may have different sales qualification steps, right? Or lead qualification steps. Maybe the pain point is there. You find out the decision-making process, and there's time to do the project, but there's no budget, right? Well, then there's no sense in chasing the opportunity because there's no budget. The customer, you're having an adult conversation. You get an idea of what their budget looks like, and it's not enough for you to solve their problem. Well, you say, okay, well, maybe they will have budget in the next fiscal cycle, quarter or year, right? So you put them back in the marketing process. You don't create an opportunity. You put that lead back in the marketing process, over here somewhere, and I'll get into where in a minute. Sorry. On the other hand, maybe you get to talk to them, and this is the first time you've had two-way conversation with them, right? When you market to somebody, it's usually one way, or one way at a time, where it's you put a marketing message out there, and maybe they open the email, or maybe they see the ad, or maybe they download the white paper, or maybe they don't, right? So when you go through the lead qualification process, that could be an automated thing, but most likely it's going to be a phone call or something, right? Maybe you find out that they are not a good fit for you. That's fine. Or maybe you find out that you're not a good fit for them. Maybe, their industry is not one that you currently serve, and you don't want to have to stretch your company's capabilities to reach that new industry that you're not really quite comfortable with, right? So maybe you say, well, that company is not a good fit for us. In that case, you qualify them completely out. You basically put them on like the do not market list within your CRM, right? So you don't want to delete them because you want to keep record of them. Maybe they'll change down the road, or maybe you'll want to update it down the road. But you don't want to spend any more money sending them email campaigns or marketing if they're never going to buy from you, at least not in the foreseeable future, right? So if you decide that a lead is not good, you either qualify them out completely or put them back in your marketing until you warm them up, or until your qualification steps can be met, right? Does that make sense? Everybody good so far? Okay. So that is lead qualification. So we talked about the goal of marketing is to produce leads. The first process, or the first responsibility of sales, is to qualify leads. So marketing takes the lead and hands it to sales, and usually in a CRM, and it can be any CRM, Marks. Like we like HubSpot, but it could be Zoho, it could be Salesforce, Pipedrive, whatever. There's tons of them out there, and a lot of them are good. A lot of them are not good. So usually in CRM, a marketing person, or some automatic thing in CRM will say, oh, that person in CRM is ready to have a sales conversation. And that conversation starts with lead qualification, right? So either a marketing person will like manually say that contact should be assigned to the salesperson or a queue, or some automatic mechanism will flip that person. There will be some event that flips them from marketing to sales, okay? A lot of that workflow automation stuff happens at like higher paid tiers of CRMs, to be honest. But I just want to let you know that that lead qualification is the demarcation point between that contact or that account being a marketing responsibility going over towards being a sales responsibility, okay? So once the salesperson picks up that lead and qualifies it in, so they don't send it back to marketing, they don't qualify it out, well, then that contact enters the sales process. And really for Rethink Revenue, we think mostly around marketing and lead generation, because that's what most companies want, right? So generally we're focused here. However, I will say that we do work with companies to help them define their sales processes. Hillary Dolby, for example, B2B CFO, I believe that's a franchise system. So she probably has a very, very well developed sales process from B2B CFO. Ron, I know you're heavily involved in Legal Shield and a couple other organizations. They have probably at least given you some guidance about what your sales process should look like, what kind of questions to ask, and in what order, when to do quotes, when to present certain information. There's probably a cycle they've at least advised you on. Even if you understand you're independent, you can do your own thing. They probably have some idea of what the best practices are for a sales discussion, right? So we will help people to define, people and organizations, I should say, right? I should say organizations, right? Companies, organizations who define their sales processes and break them down into stages and tasks. And so we could say the stages are the big tick marks and the tasks are the little tick marks. This is not drawn to scale, so please don't think we have 1, 2, 3, 4 stages in every sales thing we draw out, okay? It doesn't work that way. And the goal of sales, remember the goal what was the goal of marketing? Pop quiz. I want to make sure you guys are listening and not falling asleep on me. What's the goal of marketing?
To find qualified leads.
Yes. Leads in general, because sales does the qualifying, but yes, 100% get leads. Yes. So the goal of sales is merely to complete the sales process. I'm going to let that sit for a minute, because a lot of times you think, man, the goal of sales is to make money. Well, ultimately, yes, that is true, but the goal of sales is to complete the sales process. So when I say complete the sales process, I mean that, because when you close an opportunity, okay, so let me back up. I don't think I mentioned, if a lead gets qualified in and there is a valid opportunity, you should be creating an opportunity within your CRM to track it, right? Because the worst thing that can happen, and I made a YouTube video about this on the Rethink Revenue channel, about how I had an opportunity to sell a firewall to a customer, and I got super busy and it just got lost in the weeds. I know that's stupid, but back when I was running an IT company full time, I felt like I was playing whack-a-mole between quotes and travel and customers and tickets and all sorts of stuff, right? So your goal as a salesperson is to take every single opportunity that you qualify and close it. Run it through the sales process and close it. What that means is, don't let anything die on the vine, right? Send those follow-up emails, make those follow-up calls, make those follow-up visits. Do not let it die on the vine. So it is okay to close an opportunity as lost. That's fine. That is far better than letting it die on the vine and not know what happened to it, okay? So that's where like the tracking aspect of CRM becomes very handy, because you can go look at all your open opportunities, and I'm speaking about HubSpot, but generically here as well. You can look at all your opportunities in HubSpot, even in HubSpot free, and see where they are in your sales process, broken down by stage, and how long it's been since they were active, right? The last time you touched or updated an opportunity. So the goal of the sales process is to close all your opportunities. That's it. Granted, there is, pardon me, there is something to be said for salesmanship, right? Objection handling, and how well you can deliver a product demo, and how well you can develop rapport with a customer once you get handed off a relationship from marketing to sales, right? You have some brand equity built up by marketing. Well, now you have to like ingratiate yourself to someone that the customer actually trusts as the face of the company, to solve their problem. So there is still work to be done. But my point is, you boil sales down to the basic function. In our view, it is to complete the sales process. So within the 0-point selling model, this is the foundation of, we define that we help clients to define their sales processes. They usually exist, but to define those processes. Because here's the thing, guys, on a macro view, and Ron, this is probably more significant for you, not as much for anyone else on here, unless Claire has an army of underlings that I don't know about yet, which is possible, I don't know. But once you have a defined sales process, you can look at how if you are a sales team leader or a sales manager, once you have a defined process, you can measure the success at each step along the way, right? You can see, where the opportunities are being marked closed or closed lost, right? So really, the further an opportunity gets to the end, the more likely you're going to win it, right? Once it's qualified, the more closely it gets down here, the more likely you're going to win it. If they make it through the demo and they still like it, it gets more likely to close. If you talk about pricing and you should have covered budget already and they're okay with it, more likely to close, more likely to close. So as you move things through the stages here, you should see in your CRM and a percentage of close likelihood, right? That's important for reporting in CRM. This is like what the likelihood of an opportunity to close is. And generally, the further an opportunity moves through the process, I hope I'm pointing the right way from your perspective, the more likely it is to close. So that way, when you're looking at reporting and dashboards, either for yourself as an individual contributor or as a team leader, you can look at your pipeline and predict what you're going to close in that quarter or in that year, right? Because again, we're all about data-driven selling, and I'm not going to go into the performance review today. We'll talk about that next week, but that, revenue prediction is great, is really great and really important, right? Because when I was running my own company as an IT person, it's like, well, I hope I do well. I wasn't really looking at things in a measurable, repeatable, improvable way, right? So marketing and sales. Okay, everything makes sense so far? I'm trying to talk slow because I usually talk fast, and I know I'm probably moving 100 miles an hour, 1,000,000 miles an hour here. And somebody sent me something in the chat, but because I'm screen sharing and recording, I'm not going to open it. So just scream it out if you want.
Mark had to leave to put out a fire.
Oh, well, okay then. Hopefully it's not a legit fire because he's having construction done on his house this week. Alrighty, so we talked about marketing, sales, customer service, and closing on opportunities and customers. Okay, so let's back up to the beginning again. In 0 point selling, realizing we only have 6 minutes, I'm going to try to cover everything as well as I can just to give you guys the basic knowledge, right? In 0 point selling, we do purposeful marketing, right? And that begins with building a list of targets. And Melissa, Ron, I know you know this. Shirley, I'm pretty sure you do. Claire, you do probably also from sitting in the room here so many times. We build a list of targets and then we go after that list, okay? Now, traditional marketing or traditional advertising, you're saying, okay, well, I'm going after like soap operas, right? Soap operas were invented because they were advertising to stay-at-home moms, and they created soap operas to get moms to watch TV during the day, and they advertise laundry soap and dish detergent to them during the soap operas. Like, that's why soap operas are called soap operas, because they were founded and created and subsidized by companies like P&G and J&J and all their household cleaning products, right? Because they knew moms are sitting at home, they wanted to advertise their products to them. So that's really clever and that makes sense. But today, when you have more people watching streaming services than you do TV, and no one reads the newspaper anymore, and people listen more to Spotify than the radio, how do you get your message in front of people? So we say, rather than guessing, okay, well, here's my demographic, I think they probably hang out over here, which can be valid if you can really nail down your demographic. Okay, I get it. And Claire, you can probably nail yours down pretty well because you're looking for parents of kids of certain ages, right? I get that. Shirley, you too, and we've talked about that. So instead, with Rethink Revenue, we take a list of targets. So we define a list of people. We go through the perfect prospect exercise. We say, hey, who are your favorite customers today? Or who are the people you like doing business with the most? And then we go find a bunch of people that look like them. There's lots of ways to do that. But the moral of the story is we take those people, we put them in a list in CRM, we call them targets. And we start marketing to the targets. And again, the goal of marketing is to generate brand awareness and nurture relationships, right? We spent a whole month or more talking about marketing automation and how you can automate that earlier this year. So I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole again, but the point is, it does not have to be a manual process. In fact, we want to build what's called a lead machine where everything's as automated as possible, right? So not a lot of manual touches. So when we put people in CRM for the first time, we call them targets. We market to them and we provide, and again, there's a whole other thing on this, and I'll probably do a separate session just on this because it's very important. When you send a marketing message, and Shirley, you and I have talked about this a million times, when you send a marketing message, you want to offer someone something in exchange for doing whatever you're asking them, right? So we talk about AMCAF, audience, message, channel, you can't see my fingers, asset, and follow-up. Audience, message, channel, asset, follow-up, okay? So you need to know who you're advertising to, pick the right channel, offer them something, right? Audience, message, channel, asset, and follow-up. So in the message, you have a particular call to action. That's the main thing, is you want to ask them to do something specific. Sign up for my newsletter, download this white paper, do this, do that, something, and then offer them something in exchange for that. Usually just sign up for my newsletter because I send out free tips and tricks doesn't work because everyone knows that they're probably going to get sold to if they sign up for the newsletter. We don't do that, okay? Let me take a detour and mention that. So marketing, again, is for what? I'm going to wait. Marketing is for
Lead
Generating.
Right, but what does it do to people? How's it generate the leads? There's two things I keep saying. To generate brand awareness and nurture relationships, okay? We're not trying to say, hey, I'm selling something. Hey, do you want it? Look what I've got, you wanna buy it? That's not marketing, okay? We believe in value first marketing because it all starts with the targets and knowing that you are more than likely a good fit for them, or they are more than likely a good fit for you, right? I mean, like, especially during pandemic, Claire, like parents were clamoring for places to get their kids out of the house and burn off energy. Urban air parks would be perfect for that. I would think that would be like shooting fish in a barrel as long as, COVID restrictions aside, people are afraid to go in the place, right? Because of COVID. But aside from that, like wanting to get kids out of the house and burn energy is a real need. Trust me, I have a 6-year-old, okay? So with the targets, you want to make sure you build a good target list, right? So that's why we aim to find people that are like the people like doing business with. So we market to them and we offer them value. Like, hey, rather than just sign up for the newsletter, how about you get this cheat sheet, right, that I made for you guys? Like explain, try to boil all this I've talked about down into a 2-page PDF. Sign up for a newsletter and I'll give you as much as I can think of in a 2-page PDF. Or maybe a white paper on how we help a company like yours solve a problem or something, right? So think value first when you market. Value, value, value. You're not trying to sell, you're trying to market, right? The reason for that is you market, and then eventually a person will realize, hey, you know what? These guys are value centric. They're not trying to make me buy something. They're actually trying to help me solve my problems or achieve my dreams, whatever the case may be. So, I am going to sign up for that newsletter. Okay, I'm going to answer that ad. I'm going to respond to that guys who keeps commenting on my LinkedIn messages. I'm going to reply. So once you get that first, hey, I see you and I recognize you're trying to help, that's when they become a suspect in CRM. Okay, so that first time they signal intent and recognition of you, you become known to them, right? Because before they didn't know who you were. You're trying to generate that brand awareness. Remember, now you're nurturing relationships. So once they go from unknown to known, they recognize who you are, keep nurturing that relationship, right? Once they put their hand up and say, hey, yeah, I would like that cheat sheet. I see that you are not trying to just sell me stuff. Send me the cheat sheet, please. Yeah, I'm trying to sell stuff, but I'll sell you stuff later once I figure out a little bit better whether you're a good fit for me and I'm a good fit for you or not, right? And that comes into the whole marketing automation thing. It's like a pachinko board. People can opt into certain message tracks, indicate interest, update their subscription preferences to, hey, I like marketing stuff, but I don't need any of that. I really more focused on sales. So I want to get all your sales stuff, not your marketing stuff. Okay, cool. Well, I have messaging for that. I have assets for that. So the goal of marketing is to nurture people from where they don't know who you are to where they know who they are and keep offering value until they say, hey, you know what? I've got your cheat sheets. I've got your white papers. I watch your YouTube videos. I listen to your podcast. I really like you guys, and I would like to find out if you can help me with my problem or not. Or dream, could be a dream or a pain point, right? Like think of like weight loss or like other depending on the audience. My point is it could be a dream or it could be a pain point. So when you're writing copy, when you're trying to figure out your target's needs, it could be either way, right? A mother could be at her wit's end because her kids are driving her nuts because they're over sugared and over caffeinated, then you go run their legs off at urban air parks, right? That could be a pain point, or it could be, man, I wish my kid would get more physically active instead of playing video games. The dream would be that, right? So it could be a pain point, it could be a dream. It's the same thing, but you're looking at it 2 different ways, okay? So targets, suspects, and then someone who's in the sales process, we call them a prospect, okay? So that's the last little hole to fill in here, the last little gap to fill in here. The last thing to mention, and we're getting short on time. If Mark had to jet, I don't know that we'll get pulled back into the main room. I don't know if Greg's going to take over, so I guess I need to message somebody or something. I don't know. But so the last thing I want to mention here, these little bubbles here are marketing channels. Okay, now this we will get into more detail on when we get to the kite model and how we actually build marketing funnels and how we architect marketing in general. But I wanted to make sure you guys got the point of the customer journey framework, okay? Because all these channels are interchangeable when we're trying to market to people. And again, what's the point of marketing? 2 things. I keep saying it over and over again. The goal and the measure of success is leads delivered, yes. But what is marketing actually doing for these people to drag them across to this point right here where they raise their hand and say, I'm ready for a sales conversation? What are the 2 things?
Nurturing relationships and brand awareness.
Right. Yes. Generate awareness, nurture relationships. Those are the 2 things. And you can do that with any of these things, right? These are all channels that are interchangeable. If you go back in the day, all we had was phone. Before we had phones, all we had was door knocking, right? Whether it was door-to-door sales or B2B sales, all we had was visiting people. Then we had telephones, so we start selling on telephones. Well, and there was email, so we market and we sell on email. But the point I want you to be aware of, you need to pick the right channel And again, channel, I mean, these little bubbles here, and you can put anything in here, right? This could be advertising the Christian Blue Pages, if that's your thing. If that's your demographic where you're trying to go after Christian-owned businesses, Christian Blue Pages. If you're trying to go after people driving down 71, you know, like the sign with the HVAC company says, hey, your wife's hot, maybe you should fix the AC, right? Put that sign on 71 where you know people are driving up and down the interstate, okay? So billboards, phone calls, emails, smoke signals, carrier pigeons, door hangers if you're a local restaurant, like all the anything printed, all of these are different channels. And if I could have you take away a second thing, after realizing that marketing is the two things we said, and sales is just completing the process, it would be to use the right channel for the audience and for where the audience is in the customer journey framework, okay? So someone who has never heard of you before is not going to respond well to a cold call. Ryan Kasner will tell you that cold calls work, and that's fine. However, I think warm calls work better. On average, they say it takes 7 touches for someone to get to this point where they're ready to have a sales conversation, okay? 7 touches across multiple different channels is better, right? Rather than cold calling someone into oblivion and getting your number blocked, I would say it's way better to try to warm that person up by offering them a cheat sheet or a white paper or a case study or something, right? So there's lots of different channels. There's lots of different ways to market people. So be mindful of where people are in the journey. And let me give one example, and then I'll message somebody and see if we're going to jump back in the main room or not. So the last thing I want to say is, for example, in our marketing materials, we use marketing and sales. When we say those words in our marketing materials, we generally keep them lowercase, okay, for most of our marketing stuff. But when we talk to people that we work with, like Ron and Melissa and Shirley's been around forever, Diana, you're new, and I want you to hang around forever. Claire, you're not as new, but I want you to hang around forever. You're going to see them capitalized. And the reason for that is when I say marketing with a capital M, I mean this right here. So when I have capital M, I want you to think about all this stuff. I want you to think generating awareness and nurturing relationships. I want you to think targets and suspects. I want you to think picking channels, all that stuff. Sales with a capital S, I want you to think stages and tasks, qualifying leads, you know, measuring by close won opportunities. So like lowercase s, capital S. So I want you to think proper noun with a capital, but I don't want people to stumble over that when they read it if it's lowercase. Does that make sense? Hey guys, I know that video ended somewhat abruptly, but I hope it was worth it. The customer journey framework is kind of like a game of Othello. You know, it takes a minute to learn and a lifetime to master. I still find myself finding new ways to apply it all the time. At the very least, I hope you learned the difference between marketing and sales, how the success of each of those is measured, and what those two functions actually do. If you have any questions, which I suppose you might, please feel free to come visit us at Tech Corner. I'm putting the link in the description below. That's why I'm pointing. Tech Corner is a live Zoom that we offer every Thursday morning at 11 a.m. It's free, so please come check us out, bring your questions, and learn something new. In the meantime, if you would like to have your very own copy of the Customer Journey Framework cheat sheet, just click on this link down here below, support Team Phil, and I will send you the Customer Journey Framework once you fill out this form. If you want to support Team Mark, click on this link over here, or turn your phone right side up and click the subscribe button to subscribe to the YouTube channel and help him get his account up. I'm coming for him. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. We really appreciate it, and we will see you next week. Bye for now.